Bill Coons.
Anthony.
Welcome to the Toronto Expo. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for inviting me.
Contact distribution? Oh, don't worry about that. You were just at InfoComm?
Well, that was my InfoComm badge, right?
Okay,
Yeah,
well, you go to the States, you do a bunch of shows a year. How many shows a year are you up to?
3 or 4.
3 or 4, and mostly...
ISE in Spain has become the big integrator show.
Very good.
NAM you can't ignore, and it's a great party.
Yeah, I get it.
NAM actually reinstills my desire to be part of the music industry.
Okay, I get it.
I think we get disconnected.
Are you a failed musician yourself, like most of us?
I actually just got back into a band. I just bought a 5-string bass, so now I have to figure out what the hell to do with that.
Very good. Okay.
Right. But I've made some observations. We're in an industry which is chock-a-block with engineers.
Okay.
Here's an interesting observation. I've worked with Meyer, Adamson, Bose, EAW, Rankus Hines, EM Acoustics. Did I mention 𝘧𝘦𝘢𝐵? No. I don't mention that. That's kind of a shady pass. But of all the speaker manufacturers that I've worked with, the John Myers, Ken Deloria's, all those cats, Ken Deloria and Ed Kinsella from EM Acoustics are the only guys that are grand piano, $80,000 Steinway, Rachmaninoff type of players.
I gotcha.
And it eludes me trying to figure out how do engineers voicing and designing speakers that have no musical aptitude per se can make those valued decisions. There's where does the artistry meet the engineering? And I think that when it comes to speakers in general, the full 88, the whole bandwidth has to be more than just equations.
I gotcha.
When
it comes down to speakers and that type of black box mentality, like, you find things have to be musical if you're using for music? Do you have to find them that they have to be tuned towards the voice when you're doing, convention center type of stuff? Like, is it really an art to these black boxes?
I think that when you tune a system, you have to have the practical expectations of what it's supposed to sound like to meet the client's expectations.
Okay.
I don't necessarily believe that a lot of people are listening to what the client really is after, and so they make assumptions because they're rock stars, and then you get into the, I just set it as a baseline. You can season it to taste, right?
Gotcha.
But a lot of these chefs should never be allowed into the kitchen to decide the final seasoning.
So we have a listening problem in the audio industry, is what you're saying?
Yeah, ironically so, yes.
Okay, so it's kind of like in the communication industry, you got
bad communication.
You have to communicate. So when it comes to speakers and amplifiers, like, you've had a long career doing that type of stuff. You mentioned a bunch of brand names. Like, when are they going to get it right? Or is it just a matter of something new on the market? Are we into disposable technology, the newest, better, the 2025 model? Or are we one day going to hit the holy grail of that design?
Two-part answer. Number one, every subset of the audio chain has its opportunities or not, right? If I was a manufacturer of microphones, what can I do left outside to go out and try and copy Neumann's and make them be $75 a piece, right? Another layer of gold plating on the microphones at the next AES convention in New York is not going to change the world.
I gotcha.
Right? I think that with DSP as a market, the challenge is it's a big buy-in to do it.
Okay.
And so you'll see very few players in the DSP market really dig in and be able to invest those hundreds of thousands of dollars, despite how accessible IT technology and programming of codes and stuff like that is.
Okay.
You get to the speaker market, I joke that, if you got a Home Depot credit card, you too can go out and get a table saw and a couple of sheets of plywood, and you too can be a line array speaker designer.
That's right.
And there's no qualifications. It's how thick can you pile up the goo to make people believe in your religion.
I gotcha. So when it comes to steak and religion and the sizzle, like, is it really about reliability? Is it like, what are we selling now when it comes to the market of sound reinforcement?
I think what we're selling is that we've defaulted, and different people have different perspectives. You have, the consultants, Novita Engineering Harmonics. they try and keep an open mind and have a clear path to develop something innovative for their customer, yet that's not dangerous technology that's untried.
Okay, I got it.
Right? They're then faced with the fact that, right, I've designed this complex thing, and now I have to find a bunch of integrators that will take my vision and complete it. Oh, how smart are they, and how much are they going to stick with the program before they just go off and do whatever they want? And I find out about it as the consultant during commissioning.
So we're back to the listening problem.
So we're back to the listening thing, right? And the taking the time to read the documents and to go, right, oh yeah, no, I don't remember reading those plans, so sorry, the patch bays are all wrong.
I understand. When it comes to, you said the DSP in the world of network technology, and you're involved with a couple of leading digital technologies and distribution technologies. Because we have this unlimited flexibility, is it the client's fault? Is it the integrator's fault? Like, who is taking success and who is taking the win in these DSP implementations, and who's getting blamed for that type of stuff?
Right. In the early days when the advanced technologies were entering into our market, a whole bunch of us distributors were real hard asses, right?
Okay.
We're not going to make you a dealer or an integrator or let you near the product unless we put you through a certification course, right? And that, I think, was a very valid position. Renkus steerable arrays, direct out, Prodigies, SoundWeb, any of that stuff. If you don't have a driver's license, don't get in the driver's seat. And we have, as I constantly say, the largest uncertified technology market out there on the planet. You want to be an accountant, they send you to school and teach you how to use a computer, and then they teach you ACPAC. You want to be an engineer, they send you to school, you learn how to use the computer, and then they teach the CAD.
Really interesting.
You want to be an audio guy, well, you don't get to go to school, you learn how to use the computer on the back of the tour bus at 2 o'clock in the morning between Sault Ste. Marie and Elliott Lake, and then you're faced with a whole industry full of non-standard, semi-combative ideologies which have very little commonality, except for what the AES has done to try and add standards to an industry that didn't want to have standards.
That's a very, very good observation. I appreciate that. When it comes down to certification, like my barber has a license, but you're right, to turn on this 25,000 watt PA system, you don't even need a driver's license in some cases. That's really good, Bill, for that.
Noonan pointed out a great one where he sent me a picture of like a 787 cockpit, and he said, there's actually more buttons and switches on a Digico D7 than there are in this plane. You wouldn't get on the plane if you didn't believe that the pilot knew what every one of those switches and buttons did. Yet we hand $1 million sound system, which could literally hurt people in the wrong context, to some guy that just got out being a DJ in his backyard, and we give him the keys and let him drive.
Well, okay, so on that point, the future of aviation is autopilot.
Right.
So, when it comes to the jeopardizing of our future careers, like, where's the autopilot for audio? Like, I do realize that every time I get on a plane, that it's actually a computer being monitored by a human, opposed to a human pushing buttons. So, like, what is the career of the future for our folks?
There will always be these things, right? And these things are associated on various levels to a degree of taste and understanding about what the project is. A plane doesn't really have any depth of field for projects, and am I flying around clouds or am I just doing a straight line to my destination? Audio is full of twists and turns, and every song and every verse could have a change up on it, and you have to react to that. And so I think that the human element absolutely will always be involved in audio, possibly more so than lighting, unless you miss your cue, right? And so we'll never be able to teach a computer to mix, right? We'll never know that and the real good techs, the ones that tweak that 5K up 2 dB.
They're the ones given the nudge of the steering wheel.
The nudge of the steering wheel is so critical for audio, and autopilot isn't going to get that to us.
I get you. It's the finesse. You can automate, then you finesse.
Yes.
I got you. So when it comes to IP technology, direct out is a leader in 2110. Direct out sells stuff inside other products. So what is it about the direct out side of things that like really leads the industry when it comes to networked audio over IP devices?
Right. First, they're Germans.
Okay.
And I think that there's a cultural thing that happens with all products. It's funny, American speaker manufacturers capitalized the market for a while, and then the British guys did it, and now it's kind of a free-for-all. Again, the big buy-in for technology. The Germans understand that business model, right? The Asian manufacturers maybe not so much, right? I think the American manufacturers are kind of sitting back now, waiting for someone to do something that they may be able to emulate.
Interesting, yeah.
But they're not so much as leading the charge. I think where direct out's developed its position is a couple of factors. Stefan Flock, one of the technical geniuses behind it, 𝐬𝐗𝐏𝐿, blah, blah. He sees past just the technology to what the user is experiencing because he's done that himself. Same thing like, well, if you're building speakers and you don't play an instrument, how do you get there,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And so I think that the understanding by Stefan and the rest of the staff, who are all audio guys, which is very great, I think that's important. I think that cultures have different degrees of acceptable precision, and the Germans have always set the bar high. And I'd hate to say that North Americans, to a large degree, are a little slacker on it. But I think that where they need to see their product used properly demands a commitment of intelligence and the ability to want to be schooled. And I think that's a problem in our industry right now because no one's got 3 days for a Crestron course in Texas anymore. Right. So how do we educate people faced with, just the economic time crunch that your manufacturer or your boss imposes on you? And so we have to come to grips with that. And that means we have to get better at distant learning, right? And we've kind of sort of started to get there.
And COVID helped with the distant learning.
And COVID did help that. I wonder where we'd be if we didn't get locked into a room.
Of all the benefits that
COVID had, that could be the one.
We'll give it that one.
We'll put that on the plus side.
Yeah.
I think that there's also the challenge that manufacturers are so inundated with customers now that they've stopped listening to what the customer really wants because it's just sensory overload. One of the most brilliant people on the planet was Steve McAtee, who was a product development guy for Rain. And Steve McAtee created 𝐬𝐿, which was their DSP, which the brighter minds will tell you was by far the best DSP technology out there. Unfortunately, company got bought, new guy torpedoed it. But Steve just stopped, and before putting anything down on paper, asked 1,000 questions to 1,000 educated people and really developed the foundation of what it needs to develop a product. And that may be a problem that we have in this market, that we're looking for instant product development and creation, and sometimes that's just stealing someone else's idea and thinking you can do better, not necessarily accomplishing that. But there's not that many people, it seems, sitting down with a blank piece of paper and going, right, how do we approach this from a fresh angle? How do we start at the beginning so we listen to the voices that everybody stopped listening to because they're all overloaded with input?
Bill, my takeaway from chat with you is the audio industry has a listening problem.
Yeah, man.
Really. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
I appreciate it.